Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
Well, we hope you're doing well. And we spoke last devotion about some of the interesting concepts that we have with the ideology or the belief system of, say, evolutionary thinking, that we're evolving into a better person. And we've talked about the fact that if it took us this long to get to a place where technologically, in just 100 years, we have created the means to destroy the entire earth and everyone that lives on it. And yet we haven't evolved as human beings to a place where we're better than that. It's an awfully pessimistic thing to believe that we're psychologically going to evolve to a place where we would care so much about other people and about the affairs of the human race that we wouldn't use our technology to destroy one another. I mean, after all, we just went through COVID, which was created in a lab where they were experimenting, creating viruses that can impact the whole of humanity. And God only knows what's going on in other places. But it kind of shows you that I would have to say that any person that believes that we're somehow going to evolve to a better position as human beings, it would be an awfully distressing viewpoint to have. I would rather, on the opposite side of this, believe that there is a God who is involved in the affairs of mankind, that things happening according in Acts 2:23 to his predetermined counsel. That, for example, in Psalm 75 and verse 6 and 7, I believe it is. Let me see here. Yes. That promotion doesn't come from the east or the west, but it comes from God. He puts one up and he puts another down. That God raises people up at a certain time. That doesn't make them uniquely special, other than the fact that God wanted them there. For example, in Isaiah 45 and verse 1 through 7, God called Cyrus 150 years before he would ever appear. And he told him he would be the one that would release the children of Israel to go back to their homeland. 150 years prior. He wanted everybody to know that he was in charge. He told Nebuchadnezzar in a dream in Daniel 4 and verse 17, that just so that everyone would know that he was going to eat grass like an animal if he didn't acknowledge God. So that he would understand that the Most High is in charge of all things. Even the fact that he conquered the people that God had entered into a covenant with, Israel and Judah, that he was still in charge. It's helpful to know that our God is in charge. And he's not only in charge with the world of human beings, in other words, all of the various cultures and people groups. We know that he has great care for everyone because he gave himself for everyone. We also know that his message is a resounding message that goes out throughout the world, and that we, as the church, are part of the proclamation of that message. That there's a blessedness, as it says in Romans 10, even the feet of those that go and bring the good news. That we were commissioned, that God gave us literally a command to do this in Matthew 28, verse 18 and on. And that he's with us when we do. In our homes, in our workplaces, in our neighborhoods, in the way that we act, how we treat people. Christianity is not just something we say, it's something that we are. It's how we look at a person. I heard a testimony given by a precious saint in our church, Cheryl McBroom, and she was telling me about a condition that she had at one point in her life, and she was really, struggling with it. And she was walking into this building, and she saw this woman from afar that was just smiling at her. And when she got closer to this woman, she realized this woman had had a severe burn on her face and removed, a good portion of her face, and it wasn't much to look at, but this woman was smiling. And it was as if she said that at that moment God just spoke to her, and I'm speaking for her, so you can, but that her situation wasn't nearly. It wasn't something that she should be, so upset about. There are others that have it far worse. I think we can all identify with that. But the truth of the matter is that God is in charge, and he's in control. And the history of humanity is, no matter how we want to rewrite it, it's a repetition of the same problems over and over again. We've spoken of this, so I'm not going to go into it. In fact, one of the interesting comments as we look at all the belief systems, communism being the one belief system that has totally, accepted the fact that human beings are meant to get to a place where everything is equal and all are the same and there are no differences, which anybody that's ever traveled to a communist country knows that that's certainly not the case. And for all those people that are so enamored with the Chinese government, thank God you're not a Uyghur, one of the Muslim groups in China today, or those that are forced into, labor or forced to get abortions. You can only have so many children and so on and so forth. But that, or, having your organs removed so they can be sold on the black market. Thank God you're not one of them in that great, shining society. But the point is that in those systems, it isn't. Actually, they're much more devastating, much more destructive. One of the comments, I believe it was Dennis Prager that said this when he spent time in Russia as a student in college, a part of his studying abroad. He said that one of the dissonant humor, one of the comments they would make is the future is known under communism. It's the past that's always changing. In other words, we make it what we want it to be. Does mankind ever learn? I just want you to consider for a moment that our God has ordered our steps. Think about that. When the Word of God speaks of the fact that the steps of a righteous man in Psalm 37, verse 23 and 24 are ordered by the Lord. That's incredible. God knows the way that I take, David says in Psalm 139. God knows the way that I take. He knows what I think before I even think it. Our God is uniquely involved in your life today and mine, and nothing that happens to you or me is beyond his care, his comfort, and his blessing. Even what the world would say is a curse will be a blessing. Doesn't mean it'll work out the way we would want it to work out. It means that he will be there, and it will be a blessing because of his presence. Anywhere he is a blessing. Let's recognize him in all things today. Let's drown out all the noise out there that tells us that this is a hopeless situation. How can it be hopeless when the God of all hope is right there with you? I don't know about you, but I love the fact that living this life is not just a life lived, but it's a life lived for someone who lived his life for me. It's a blessing to live our life for Christ. It's a blessing. Till next time, friends, God bless you.